All right, it's 7 o'clock on July 21st, 2025. Please join me at the flag salute to open the Stayton City Council meeting. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Councilor Carey is excused tonight, and there is a vacancy for the other position down at the other end of the table, which I'll talk about this afternoon or a little bit later in the meeting. With that, is there any additions to the agenda? Any declaration of ex-party contact, conflict of interest, bias, etc.? Don't hear anything. Public comment? Mr. Frank, please come up and let us know what's on your mind, sir.
I like the roomy setup here.
Sure. Give me a second. Let me read this, please. The council will now receive public comment. We value the time and initiative members of the public take to share their thoughts with the council. The council's role during public comment is not to immediately respond, but to listen. If there is follow-up necessary, we will direct city staff to do so. Remember that we all model the way for our community, and we ask that everyone share their thoughts respectfully. Those who have completed a request for recognition form will be called one at a time to step forward or turn on their cameras and mics and state their name and city of residence. Please note that speakers will have 3 minutes to express their thoughts. And with that, Mr. Frank, you're good to go.
Yeah, Steve Frank, I want to say city here, and I've lived in state my life. Good enough? Hi.
Good.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, is the button green?
Need up here?
We need the mic on. Are we good now?
Yeah, we're good.
You want me to say it again?
We're good.
All right. In Oregon, fireworks that fly into the air, explode, or travel more than 12 inches vertically or 6 feet horizontally on the ground without a permit are considered illegal. This includes common fireworks like bottle rockets, Roman candles, and firecrackers. Violations can result in a Class B misdemeanor and a fine of up to $2,500. These fireworks are a fire risk, cause injuries and property damage, impact the well-being of folks with PTSD and others, and our animals. Many Oregon cities have banned personal fireworks altogether. Maybe an effort to inform our citizens of what constitutes illegal fireworks and the penalty for their possession and use would be helpful. Something in the water bill, online, flyers, reader board at the library, something to make it clear to our citizens that those fireworks are illegal and carry a penalty. Some cities have offered firework amnesty events where residents can turn in illegal fireworks without facing fines. Lincoln City replaced its traditional fireworks with an innovative drone light show because of growing community concerns for environmental impact, public safety, wildfire risk, and pet disturbances. Our officers are overwhelmed on the 4th and to some degree on New Year's Eve. We as a community should make an effort to resolve this problem before the next 4th of July. That's it.
Thanks, Mr. Frank. And I would say that just a quick review of some social media comments. There's a lot of people that share concern. So thank you.
Sure. Thanks, folks.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda from June 16th, City Council regular session minutes. Resolution number 25025, approval of the State and Police Officer Association's collective bargaining agreement. Resolution number 25021, appointment of, and I'll probably botch this name, I apologize, Michelle Jungworth and Eric Lofton to the Public Arts Commission. And then finally, Resolution 25022, accepting the abstract of election results from the May 20th, 2025 special district election.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Councilor Patty.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Motion and second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. No presentations? All right, that leads us to a public hearing on ordinance number 25-005, amending Chapter 4.12 of the Stayton Municipal Code to readopt updated terms and conditions of the Pacific Power franchise agreement. I want to make sure I do this right. Julia?
This might look familiar to council because it is. You actually adopted ordinance, I don't have the number in front of me. You adopted an ordinance several months ago, basically adopting the Pacific Power franchise agreement. However, I did not get it to Pacific Power in a timely enough manner, and I wasn't paying attention to a clause that says they have 60 days to respond if they don't agree with it. They do agree with it because we worked on it together, but because it hadn't been acknowledged within that time frame, we needed to readopt it. So this is essentially just readopting what you've already seen. I am horribly sorry, and they will get it in a much quicker fashion than they did last time. So with that, because it is an amendment to the code, we're doing this as a public hearing, so we recommend that you open the public hearing and see if anybody has anything to say.
Okay, thanks, Julia. And with that case, I will read the disclaimer. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public input on the Pacific Power franchise agreement. And with that, anything else? Okay. Did the city staff receive any written testimony for this hearing?
No.
Did the city staff receive any requests to testify virtually for this hearing?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience this evening who would like to provide testimony for this hearing? Doesn't look like it. And so that, I'll close the hearing and go to council deliberation. Looks like just housekeeping here. So what would council like to do here?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
I'd like to make a motion to move to approve the ordinance granting a non-exclusive electric utility franchise to Pacific Corp, DBA, Pacific Power, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Seconded.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the Pacific Power franchise agreement. Alyssa, will you poll the council?
Sure.
Oh,
Counselor.
sorry. Is there any more further discussion? No, you can pull the
Okay.
council.
Counselor Ort.
Yes.
Counselor Patty.
Yes.
Counselor Sims.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. That moves us to general business, resolution number 25-023, adopting the City of Stayton Emergency Operations Plan. Julia?
Thank you, and I'm actually going to invite Greg Walsh up. He's with the Marion County Emergency Management Office. Just in case there's questions or if he wants to say something, I'll say that we have the Emergency Operations Plan, and we're very thankful Marion County helped write a grant that funded several jurisdictions to be able to update their emergency operations plan. They're actually doing another phase for other cities. So this has been a project that we've spent a year on to update. It's involved including stakeholders. We've had a couple of stakeholder meetings as well as internal staff discussions. And then what is in front of you is essentially an update to our emergency operations plan. I think it's pretty thorough and exciting. And I don't know, Greg, if you want to share a little bit more about the team that did it and what you guys look at from the county standpoint.
So good evening. My name is Greg Walsh. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for Marion County. I do want to say thank you all for supporting this. This was a great initiative that we were able to pick up and use funding to actually help every city in the county get a new emergency operations plan. Most are a little out of date. And what this really does is it helps facilitate and provide some direction on how you would respond to emergencies, and that also gives us the direction on how you would respond so we can assist you. Again, if you needed additional assistance, it's an easy escalation to the county for us to continue to support and to coordinate all emergency response operations as necessary. So the team that we had do this, we actually used a contractor that has quite a bit of experience with this, and as Julia said, that this was one of many plans that we were working on across the entire county. But I do want to thank the entire team for all of their support and hard work that they put into this. It really is a comprehensive and well-written plan.
And I'll also add that this is part of council's goals. One of the goals was to update our emergency operations plan, and sort of the next step now that we have this clean, solidified new plan is we want to move into working with the county on practice exercises. That's something that we haven't done historically that I'm aware of, and I want to make sure that we're starting to do some of those exercises, which was one of the council goals as well.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Greg or Julia? Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilor Orr.
I do have a question. So on the page 80, no, it's page 87 of our packet, but it's page 13 of the plan. I don't see anything on here about like the dam breaking.
So that actually was a conversation that we had quite a bit, and I don't know where it landed exactly. That's not I think they evaluated normal hazards, and then I believe that further in the package, there is something about a catastrophic dam failure.
We had several conversations around
Okay.
that. And part of that, that's a countywide response pretty immediately, but part of our discussions are how do we do notifications, how do we start to assess and respond to the community. And some of that is a little piece of yours, where you manage your community, and then we come in and help and provide additional support. We do know that if there is a catastrophic dam failure, that becomes a federal incident really quickly. So there's quite a comprehensive response that goes into that, and your plans kind of tie into that. It's kind of a hierarchy approach.
And it is discussed on page 102 of your packet, or 28 of the EOP.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
was there any discussion about losing city water with the dam drawdown as part of the plan?
I don't think that was something that made it into the emergency operations plan. I'm trying to remember if we specifically.
I don't think that,
Yeah.
because that is most of the plan evaluated the high hazard risks that we face across the county, and that is kind of a specific risk that is based on kind of a different situation. So I don't believe that is specifically addressed, but there are aspects of the plan that could be implemented, such as how we provide we have the ability to do water distribution through an incident command system and some other things like that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Thanks again, Greg.
Thank you.
This is an opportunity for public comment on resolution number 25023. Doesn't look like we have any public comment. Council? It's up for discussion. I guess I would ask if council's read all this. It's pretty detailed, and I can be the first one to tell you I haven't read all this, so it's going to take me a little bit to go through this.
I have not read it in stringent detail myself, but I don't see any issue with passing it.
I did a scan. It was too much to read. It's a lot to read.
Yeah,
I
and just
scanned-
as
I
a
scanned it.
reminder, historically, so from what I was able to determine, council formally adopted an emergency operations plan in 1992. There were some staff level updates, and it does appear that they came to council for review, but council didn't formally adopt them in 2015 and 2019. So it would be nice to have a formally adopted thing that we can track. That doesn't mean that we're not going to respond to an emergency utilizing this. We're going to use the best data and information that we can. So, if you want to read it some more, you certainly can. But it's really sort of acknowledging that this is our guiding principles for the next events.
How often is this updated?
Well, as I said, it's been 2019 since we last did anything. I think from an ideal standpoint, I'll look to Greg. I think I would say every couple years, you want to be dusting it off and just making sure that the data is correct.
Certainly. So some of the plans that we have at the county level are federally regulated. So we are required to provide a complete update every 5 years, but every 2 years we must provide a letter that we have reviewed it and made any additional changes. So it's kind of an evergreen document. We make changes after every exercise, every emergency. We go back and we make changes. And we just record those, and then every 2 years we just put a letter together that says, here's the record of changes as a note, and we kind of look at it as an evergreen document. There's always room for improvement.
And
Oh, that's
Greg,
perfect, yeah.
Greg, can you speak to our, and I just can't remember, but any FEMA requirements that we adopt, the EOP and/or grant requirements that we adopted?
Certainly. So there are several grants out there that, if you have an adopted emergency operations plan, makes you eligible to receive some of that grant funding, and that does meet that every 5-year requirement with the 2-year letter of update. So there is some specific grants, and then there are some post-disaster hazard mitigation grants. So having an emergency operation plan that is adopted also makes sure that kind of checks one of the big blocks of getting post-disaster hazard mitigation funding and then some other federal aid funding following disasters.
Cool. Anybody else? I guess my reference, Julia, was to know what my role is when this does indeed take place. And you sound like we're going to have an exercise for that at some point.
Yes, and that's a really good point. My vision was more of a staff exercise, but I think that would be really great to walk through that with council and staff and make sure that everybody understands their roles.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anything for Greg? All right, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Council discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Council Ort?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 25-023, adopting the City of Stayton Emergency Operations Plan dated July 2025.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
thank you. There's a motion and a second to adopt the updated emergency operations plan as presented. Any further discussion? Alyssa, you want to poll the council on this one?
Sure. Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. That leads us to the next item, resolution number 25-024, Ida Street Sewer Change Order Adjustment. Mr. Buchanan.
For the record, Barry Buchanan, Interim Public Works Director. Council staff, thank you for having
Is
us
that mic on,
present
Barry?
this. Sorry?
Is that mic on?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Want to
this
make sure.
time.
Speak closer.
Were you just testing me, or was it? Okay, rightio. I did actually have it on this time. Anyway, Barry Buchanan, for the record, Interim Public Works Director. We've come to Council to request support for a change order to the Ida project, the Ida Sewer Street project. We are looking at an original approval in May of last year for, 2 years ago, it was last year, 24, of $2.7 million. We currently have approved change orders in the order of $100,000, and we're asking for an approval for a further change order of $374,000. The change order is in respect to changes in construction associated with the project, including water issues, extra over-excavation, extra repair work, lateral interference work, and additional interference with construction and excavation. At this stage, we have negotiated a request from $674,000 down to the $374,000. Originally, we went back to the contractor offering them 50%. They refused that or declined that, and as it stands right now, have agreed that they would accept, if council approves, the $374,000. At this stage, I'll ask for council's support to, in actual fact, put that change order in place.
See, I wasn't on. Thanks, Barry. This is an opportunity for a public comment on resolution number 25-025. 024 Ida Street Sewer Change Order Adjustment. Doesn't look like there's any. Council discussion? Oh, I see. Len came up.
Len Hayes, Stayton, Oregon. No complaint, but I want to make sure, budget committee-wise, is the money there? Was it set aside? What is it in a contingency? Just, I didn't hear that. Okay.
Good question.
You'll answer?
I will.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
To cover the point requested, yes, we have the money in the overall budget. We will not be breaking the budget as far as the overall wastewater, stormwater, or water project numbers are concerned. So therefore, we say that all the enterprise funds remained intact after this change order.
Thank you. Thanks for that comment. Council discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty?
Just real briefly, for the folks watching at home, and maybe seeming like, oh boy, this is quick. This kind of seems out of the blue. This is something that we've had an opportunity to kind of go back and forth with staff, kind of getting a more detailed explanation, and I feel like that just needs to be said. This is not without pain to me, and I'm glad that the funds are there. But yeah, I just wanted to say that for folks listening.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Councilor Ort?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to add to that, so this project, when we were talking with staff, we didn't have a contingency built in, and I believe going forward we're going to do that. And so this is within a 10 to 15%, it's 11% contingency or increase, which if we had a contingency would have been approximately that for unforeseen issues that did arise, unfortunately. So for that reason, I'm going to be a yes on this.
Okay, thank you. I think the other piece to acknowledge is that I think steps are being put in place to avoid this in the future with future contract awards, so there's that too. Okay. What would council like to do?
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Councilor Patty?
Yeah, I move to approve Resolution 25-024, amending the West Ida Street Sanitary Sewer Improvements Phase 2 contract to provide for additional compensation due to project cost overages caused by field conditions.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve Resolution number 25024, amending the West Ida Street Sanitary Sewer Improvements, Phase 2. Phase 2 contract to provide additional compensation due to project cost overages caused by field conditions. Any further discussion? Alyssa, will you poll the council on this one, please?
Sure. Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That leaves us with a discussion of ODOT Park and Ride. Julia?
Thank you. It lists me as the staff report, but it's really sort of council. As you recall, and I don't remember the exact date, several months ago, a month ago or so ago, the county had a town hall meeting at the Park and Ride about potentially closing the Park and Ride. Staff at the following meeting shared with council that that meeting was had. There was discussion about, and then the county and ODOT really wanted to get input from the jurisdictions. I think there is support to close those that facility, but wanted to get feedback from the councils and the community before doing so. When we came at that next meeting, the suggestion was maybe getting a little bit more input from people that are using the Park and Ride, doing a survey. We haven't had a chance to do that yet. Melanie was working on the concept, and I know that she had wanted to maybe have a QR code or something that we could have at that site to really get feedback from folks that are using the facility. Just anecdotally driving by, I have, since this discussion has been coming up, I try to keep a track of about how many cars are in the parking lot, and there's 10 10 maybe a day, sometimes less, sometimes more. As has been pointed out, we don't know who is using that, if that's Stayton residents or people from outside of Stayton using it and what they're using it for. But that's just an observation. But really, this is an opportunity for council to discuss it, determine whether or not you want to make a recommendation now, if you want to wait, what you want to do. It's not your decision, but you would, I think that there's some desire to provide some feedback to the county and ODOT. And then I think I forwarded the email or the article. There was an article in the Statesman recently where this was brought up and discussed, and I think that's what triggered the mayor asking for this to be just added to the agenda for this evening. And I've heard from some others that interest as well, so that's why it's being discussed this evening.
Okay, thank you, Julia. This is an opportunity for a public comment regarding the discussion of the ODOT park and ride. All right, council, what would you like to discuss?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Sims.
I went to that original meeting at the Park and Ride, and ODOT had told us that there was 100 riders since January 1st getting picked up by the bus there. So there's not a lot of use for bus riders there. I think people are parking there. I'm sure there's, people go fishing, you meet there, you do activities like that. I know people are parking there, but the downside is with the illegal camping there, and there's quite a bit of it. And what the state police said, they were there, they were represented, and Marion County Sheriff was actually there, but there's not a whole lot they can do. They can't really trespass them because, there's rules on time limits and how long they can wait. And they really stated there was not a whole lot that the police could do to chase people out of there. So that's my big concern.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, I guess my big question is, how many people are using that space to depart and leave a vehicle there and then return? And I'm hearing the bus numbers, and that makes sense that we have those, but I would be curious for more survey data to understand that and how we're putting those folks out before, pushing to close it. That's kind of been my question bugging me. I understand the reason and rationale for closing it, but I would like to see more information about that before we close that opportunity to those folks.
Councilor Ort.
I'm a little neutral on it. I don't really have an opinion either way. I do see it being used, but again, I don't know what people are using it for. And if there's an opportunity for people to park other places if it does get closed down, I do think that it's the first thing that people see when they come into our community, and sometimes it is an eyesore. And I believe in that meeting, Councilor Sims, if you could correct me, ODOT, they were saying that ODOT just doesn't have the time and resources to, it's their property and they're supposed to be managing it, and they don't have the resources to be able to do that.
That was one of their big concerns, yes.
Right. And so that's my concern too, is how do we continue if it stays open with the recent cuts that they've had, that's going to be an even lower priority for them, and then continue to be a problem for us, because Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we have, we're the ones that have calls if calls are out there, don't we have police officers that go out there?
So we will respond if there is a call for service, like if there's a 911 call type of thing. Whoever's closest will be the one that responds. And then I can certainly say anecdotally, I have gotten calls from people who complain about it. I'm sure Sublimity has as well, just so because people don't realize that it's not either of our jurisdiction.
Yeah, it just becomes a burden on us. So, I'm kind of in the middle about it, but I wouldn't be upset if it closed. So if that's what they want to do with the property, then I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you.
On a different kind of note on that, so the bus service, and I'm going off on another tangent, but it kind of coincides with it. I don't know what you're talking about, Len. Sorry. I don't know what you're trying to say. But there was a gentleman that was using the bus service during that meeting. I talked to Commissioner Bethel about it, and she was saying that where that person lives, it's equidistance between that bus stop and then if they were to move it up to the Public Works. But I think there's an opportunity for people to use the bus more, like in town actually, more often. If the bus is already here, if they did a loop around town, if we could talk, I would love to be able to talk to them about having more stops actually in town. We have the senior center that's on the edge of town, and there's people that readily can't get there because they can't drive, and there's no way to get there. It's on the outskirts of town. And then you have Roth's on the other side of town. You have the library. You have the library, so it's like if they went just a big square around and then hightailed it out by Roth's, you'd probably get more riders. Just saying.
Okay, thanks.
So I'd love to be able to talk about that.
Thanks, Council Ort. So I'm on the record, as you all saw in the news article, I'm on the record from the previous council meeting where I spoke to this issue. And I'm going to stay on that topic for a minute. At the end of the day, folks, this is not our decision. This is owned and jurisdiction by ODOT. And I would say that given the current strain on ODOT, that we participate in helping them alleviate that, number one. Number two, it was never intended to be a park and ride. I think that particular piece of property was there when they built the interchange. And look how long it took us just to get some action on the issues that we did have down there. And we did that by reaching out to ODOT's folks who were generous in helping us, but it took forever to get those situations resolved. I drove by it again yesterday or this weekend, and there's particular items for sale in their boats and cars and whatnot that we don't have jurisdiction over that are against our code. The trash, the amount of trash that's there, that's left behind by folks, we end up going down there, and it's so unsightly when you come into our community, and the first thing you see is this lot with garbage everywhere and burnout marks in the parking lot. I understand the intent to try to make it convenient for someone to park there and meet their buddies, but I counted 9 cars there this afternoon when I came home. I think a lot of those folks that are parking there, I would argue, are probably not residents of Stayton, just because I'm not sure that driving from their driveway to the parking ride serves any purpose. So I'll stay on the record as I support the closure of the parking ride. That's what ODOT decides to do. And I did have discussion with Sublimity elected officials as well at the Marion County luncheon, and they are in agreement with that position. To your point about chariots, I had a meeting with the chariot director about a year and a half ago, talking specifically about increasing bus service to Stayton. I think that's probably a good follow-up, but they have some logistics and some operational challenges with that as well. So, and I'll leave it at that, and there's my position.
So I guess a question for you all, the council and the mayor. You've discussed it. I've taken notes. Do you want to do anything more than discuss it? Do you want to have any formal letter? Do you want to have a position, or just discuss it?
I'm kind of curious. Has our feedback been requested by ODOT for this, or have they not really?
ODOT didn't specifically solicit our feedback at that town hall meeting. I think it was made clear by the county commissioner, really, that they don't want to advocate for anything that we're opposed to, and that they, ultimately, if it is closed, Sublimity and Stayton are going to be the ones that hear from from residents and if there is an issue, and so they wanted to make sure that there was support, but it was really more the county, I think, than ODOT.
Well, personally, this may come across as slightly cynical and more pragmatic, but, we hear a lot of complaints the way it is now. I guess closing it, we could open ourselves to additional complaints for folks who use it. I'm just going to be honest, I've used it before. I know a lot of people who use it pretty regularly. But, again, to your point, we have issues down there. If that would alleviate some of them, I'm interested in talking about that, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I have a position, really, is ultimately what I'm saying.
Counselor Sims?
So have we talked about a letter of support for closing it, or is that something we could do?
Yes, I think that's my question, is if there's a majority of council that is supportive of writing a letter of support for closing it, then I will draft a letter of support.
Because I am in support of closing the park and ride. I don't know if we have 3, but
I would sign it. I don't. Do we need 2 of the 3, or do we need 3 of the 5?
This is one of those, each of you could individually write. Generally, for something that isn't clear, it's a policy thing, having a clear majority would be recommended. I don't know, this is really up to you. We could wait till the next meeting and discuss it then when we have more people who can vote on things.
You know what? If it makes it easier to advance this and move on, I'm happy to sign on to the letter.
So I can draft a letter. Do we want just to draft it and have the mayor sign it, or? Okay.
Yeah, Julie, I don't think we have to give a reason. I just think we can just state, hey, there's no opposition from city, and leave it at that. Happy to do that.
Okay.
That's great.
All right,
Thank
folks,
you.
thanks for that. Anything else? Julia? Opportunity for communication from the city staff.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to write signature and forgot how to spell. Council updates. So I have a few. One I have mentioned in my weekly updates, and it's the parklet discussion. We actually discussed a little bit about this this evening. So the parklet, if you recall, is was a platform with some benches. It had a little lectern and some, like a little holder for books for a little library. In the past, it had been on 3rd Avenue across from Wolfgang's, and then a few years, so I think it had been there for a few years, and then it was also on Florence next to the parking lot for a year. This year, the Arts Commission asked for it to be placed on the Washington Street Bridge, which we said yes to. And then there was a little bit of a back and forth because RDS had actually wanted it placed on Florence Street. We went to RDS and explained why we were not going to do that, and they were supportive of that decision. So the Public Works Department put the parklet components on the Washington Street Bridge. Unfortunately, when that was placed, it was pretty quick for staff to realize that it was not in a condition that was safe. If you leaned on the bench, it would come up. The benches were wobbly. There was a lot of issues that we were concerned about. And so we took video of that, and I told Barry to have staff remove components that were the most egregious. And then I don't remember the date, but it was a week or so ago, we had a special Parks Board, Arts Commission, and RDS meeting on the bridge so that we could share, because all of those entities had an interest in the parklet. So we had a special meeting with representatives. Actually, we had a quorum of at least our groups to share the concern and get feedback. And I think everybody recognized that was a concern. Everybody was supportive of us removing additional elements. We brought some equipment, some furniture that had been donated by Mr. Cronquist that is heavier and a little bit more stable. Those were actually brought back onto the bridge. But one of the conversations that came out of that was a recognition and a need that we need to have this conversation a little bit more about what the long-term desire is for any amenities on the Washington Street Bridge, what we want to do with the Washington Street Bridge. And so my recommendation is that we have an ad hoc committee that would include some representatives from RDS, Arts Commission, Parks Board, and Council, if you're so interested, to discuss what we want to have that look like, so that prior to next summer, we have some recommendations that we could move forward on. So I just wanted to share that. Councilor Sims was there. Did you want to add anything?
Just that it's on the Water Street Bridge.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
I just didn't want people to be confused.
No, I don't know why I keep, and I kind of, yeah, I felt that, but it didn't resonate. The Water Street Bridge. Thank you.
I think one thing we talked about is replacing some of that furniture that was down there that, I don't know, that was there's some specific parklet furniture that can be bought by the city, but that may be something to think about in the future, because it was, that would protect us from liability and that sort of thing, and it looked really nice, and it'd be really nice to have something like that, but there is a price tag to it, I think. I think Barry actually had it all figured out in his brief.
And there are lots of options, and it was interesting having lots of voices. There's lots of ideas. There's ideas of how to make that space bigger, better. And then other people had some concerns about liability for the way the railing is now. And do we want to encourage people? We probably need some signage. We want to look at separating the bicyclists and pedestrians potentially from the park users, and so it just sort of warrants a little bit more conversation with all those that have an interest in that area.
Can you remind me, I thought that, you mentioned this when we were in our work session, but isn't the parklet owned by RDS? And then was it?
So that it is in fact not owned by RDS, and that was a little bit of a bone of contention. It was initially, I believe, purchased with support of RDS. Formerly Stayton Main Street, Friends of Stayton Main Street. It was Mark Cronquist actually has pictures of him and the Friends of Stayton putting it together. I think that became RDS, but it was being stored, much of it was being stored by the city, and had been rebuilt multiple times because it had fallen apart in pieces, or parts and pieces had fallen apart. And so our assessment is that what is there now really isn't what was there originally. And it was really never owned by RDS. And that was what we needed to meet with them and explain that to them, and I think they understood that for the most part. So it's not really owned by anybody, and that's another conversation that whatever we do, we need to have really clear understanding of who owns it, who maintains it, and what that responsibility is. And I certainly would advocate, I don't think that anything in the right-of-way should be owned and maintained by anybody other than the city, because I think that becomes really problematic. And we still have, we have some benches that were purchased by RDS and the city that are, if you look at them, they're breaking, and we need to have a conversation about that. What we do for replacement, is that the city's responsibility? Is that RDS's responsibility? How do we move forward with that? Which gets back to that whole accepting of donated items.
Okay.
So,
any questions for Julia?
Yeah, I do. With this, I'm just wondering, and I hear your concern about something being donated, but I just feel like, coming from our conversation earlier at the last meeting, is there an opportunity here to partner with places around town that want to get their name out there by saying, I don't want to give a business name right now, the ad hoc, but like I'm sure that there's interest in donating this and mitigating whatever public funding that we have to put towards making this, right? And I guess my thought is there any way we could just use Howard or not Howard, excuse me, the community engagement person to find some kind of deal to be made here to get some stuff down there that, you know, mitigates that extra cost for the city?
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I think we still have to discuss what it looks like, who maintains it, what we want for that site. But yeah, I think there's certainly opportunities to potentially get some items, but we have to make sure they're items that we want.
Right, and my point, just to clarify, is get rid of the old stuff that's falling apart, get some new stuff that works better, and then when that stuff falls apart, get rid of the old stuff, and then get some new donor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that way it alleviates the taxpayer burden.
Yeah. So, and I guess any concerns or opposition to having this ad hoc group do this, the approach that I've laid out? Okay. So I've got a couple more things, sorry. I know that there was an interest in getting an update on the downtown parking. I know that we have submitted a letter of interest to the state to do a downtown parking study. I asked Jennifer to reach out. I'm assuming since she's not running up here that she did not get any information from them. Is that? Okay. So that's where we're at. We will continue following up on that. The idea is that we want to get hopefully we can get a grant that will allow us to look sort of holistically at the downtown area and identify if there's opportunities to maximize parking, even potentially looking at the grid, the one-way grid, you know, a one-way grid and allowing more parking. So that's what we're hoping for. As Jennifer pointed out, it is ODOT that's part of the grantee, and so there might be some delays there, but we'll look at that and see if we can get an answer. And obviously, if we can't get anything, if they're just not going to do anything or they're not going to get back to us, then we need to have another conversation about what alternatives we do. Councilor Sims looks like he wants to say something.
Councilor Sims?
Yeah, I definitely think we owe it to the downtown merchants to get some action going on the parking, because that was a big concern. So I think it should be pretty important item to keep pushing on.
Yeah. Just a few reminders. Safety Action Plan open house number 2 is this Wednesday from 5:30 to 7:30. It's actually going to be in the library community room, and then the PAC, the Policy Advisory Committee, Public Advisory Committee, is before that. I think 4:30 to 5, 3:30 to 5. Gosh. And then we also have ice cream, and another ice cream social this week, Thursday at the Community Center Park from 5:30 to 6:30. This Saturday we'll have our booth at Summerfest, so come by. That will be exciting. Chief is not able to be here this evening because she's working a case, but she wanted to make sure that we did a shout out about Safety Town and letting you know that we need campers and hoping that you can spread the word to get campers, basically kindergarten, go ahead.
Kindergarten, first grade, they're going to get some goodies, also T-shirts and some other arts and crafts, and it's just a fun time for kids. So. And
it's August 18th through the 22nd. Yes. A couple of three board reports. Parks Board's next meeting is on August 5th, which is National Night Out. So instead of having a meeting, we've invited them to come to Pioneer Park to participate in the National Night Out that we'll be hosting. So hopefully all of you guys can be there as well. The Arts Commission at their last meeting, they didn't have a quorum, but hopefully the appointments you made this evening will prevent that from happening in the future. Their next meeting is August 21st. The Planning Commission didn't have a meeting last month, but they will be meeting next week, and they're going to be reviewing a conceptual plan for a master plan unit development for Phillips Estates Phase 3. So that will be more to come.
Julia, can you? sorry.
And it sounds like I
I
have,
was going to, go ahead, Alderbur.
I think I have an update from my interim Public Works Director.
Very quickly, we had an issue at the wastewater treatment plant this morning that I'd like to report on. We had, in the biosolids building, it went essentially on fire. We called the fire service, and this is really why I'm here, is to thank them for their turnout this morning to come and help us with a potential disaster. It didn't turn into a disaster, but we did have an issue that the biosolids started smouldering, and the guys could not remove it from the building. We doused it with water, which was sufficient to keep it under control until the fire brigade got there. They helped us clean up the mess. They helped us water it down. They helped us, in actual fact, contain the issue inside the biosolids building, and we're back to normal operations. So I'd just like to thank our fire service for turning out to help us.
And on that note, Barry, I actually appreciate that. Yeah, that's not anything you want to deal with. But I just wanted to remind the council that, so that's what the dryer does, is removes water from the waste. But as part of that, it cleans it, and the biosolid remainder is actually a grade A certified fertilizer. We refer to it as Sanium Green, and it is available for anybody to use. You're laughing, but we actually have given it away in the past, and it saves us a ton of money in having to find some place to take it. They've been struggling in the last year or so in getting it to be taken away, which is part of the problem, that they need to get rid of it so that it's not getting warmer. So I just want to put that out there, that if anybody needs grade A fertilizer for their fields, to let us know, because we would love to give it to them.
Sounds like a marketing challenge to me. Thanks, Julia.
Yeah.
I do have a question, Julia. Can you confirm, did you say that this ice cream social was at the community park?
Community Center Park? That is, yes.
So we're having it here again?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that we had it, this year we are trying different days, and we were trying to take advantage of other things going on, and so I think we're having 2 at this park. I think that we are not having one at Quail Run Park, and so that might be, not Quail Run, the North Slope Park. Thank you.
Okay. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
So that doesn't preclude the agreement or the potential meeting with the folks for with Casey's group, right?
Oh, that's next week.
Okay.
Yeah, next week we actually have 2 ice cream socials. We have one at Saniam and one Westtown.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that all you got, Julia?
That is all I've got.
Thank you. Opportunity for communication between mayor and council, and I think I'm going to start this time. So, Julia, I don't know if I should read this into the record or not, but can you give us an update possibly on the Lone Oak Cemetery situation?
As best I can. I think
please.
I've kept you guys up. I did drive by the other day, and it looks like it's been mowed.
Portion of it.
Okay, I was like, oh, it looks like it's been mowed. I really don't have any more information than what I shared last time, which is that I sent a letter to the P.O. box that's on file. I called the person that was recommended to me and left a message. I also spoke with somebody else from the Odd Fellows and reached out to him, who said he would get the message. I also know that somebody in our office got another call from somebody concerned about it, and so she reached out on her own and was able to connect with the person that I hadn't been able to connect with, who didn't give her a whole lot more information than, yes, I know that this is a problem. So still hoping to reach out to them and see if we can get a meeting set up. I was pleased to see that there did seem to be something going on, that it seemed to be a little bit cleaner than It has in weeks past, but I haven't actually had a chance to speak to the person who I believe is responsible. But it sounds like you might have different information, or?
It's not different information per se. It's the same gentle lady that
Oh.
sent me the first letter. And I do have her address this time, so I will forward that to you.
Okay.
And it's from Salem. I don't know that there's any reason for me to read this into the record other than say that we have made attempts to get in touch, as you just talked about, with the Lone Oak Cemetery owners to address the concerns in her letter, and we're still working on it. And maybe I should answer her question about, do you have the power to restore beauty to the cemetery in the city of Stayton, ? I wonder, or do you not care at all, or care less? So, I'm going to forward that to you, and
Okay,
if
thank
that has
you.
the address on it, we can go from there.
And I will also, to this point, or to date, I have not consulted the city attorney on this. I will certainly reach out to him and see if there's more we can do, because I know that there's a lot of interest. I know you specifically have expressed interest, and if there's, if we could get permission to get on there and do stuff, I think that there's a lot of people that would be willing to do that, but I can't actually make contact with the person.
I know.
But I will talk to Ross and see if he has any ideas or any, can give us some authority that that I'm not aware that we have at this point.
Okay. Quick question about the gate at the parking lot, the new the riverfront. Are we closing that at night?
I don't know if we actively are or if we should. I think that might be a coordination issue, so.
Okay. And just a reminder that
Yeah.
Marion County asked for photos when you have time.
Yes, I know that they're actually coming out this week, next week. I know that they've got somebody from their staff actually coming out to do a tour, but yeah.
That's all I got.
Do you have an announcement about a
Oh, sorry, I will.
resignation?
Yes, sorry. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, that's why I wanted first. Thanks for reminding me. Tonight, at the beginning of the meeting, I announced that there was an absent seat there at the bottom, at the end of the aisle, and that's an announcement that Councilor Bauer has resigned from that position due to family obligations, and I totally understand that. So having said that, that position is currently open for anybody in the community that meets the criteria to step forward and say they're interested in it. And what we'll do is, the process is you step forward or send me an email to begin with. We will review them all with council, and then we will have some type of interaction with them and have a decision at some point. But how it works today is I can appoint the person, but it has to be with consensus of the council. And so it really is a council-involved process. It's not just me. I don't have the ability to say, hey, you're tap the person on the shoulder and say go. But it really is a council procedure, and that's what we'll do. We'll entertain folks that are in the community. We'll get the information, and then we will come up with a process, and we'll work through it.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to have because we could certainly share this information out publicly, do you want to have a requested deadline, or is it an ongoing thing?
I haven't given it too much thought about as far as putting a deadline on it. Does council have any desire or any wishes? Would you want to put a deadline on it? I mean, yeah. So,
Fair amount of time, like maybe 2 months or something.
okay, you want to do September 30th? Does that work? Councilor, you got something on your mind?
I just wanted to add to that open position would be appointed for, in September, about a year and
Right.
a couple months.
Yep.
Until you'd have to run again if you so choose. So
Right.
your appointment would be for less than 2 years.
Yeah, so it'd be expiring on December of 2026.
Yes.
So thanks for that reminder. So that's out there. So anyone's interested in it, start sending me emails and/or send them to Alyssa, and we'll go from there. Now I think that's all I had, right?
Yeah, just for the record, I guess. So probably the best email to send it to is just citygov@StaytonOregon.gov,
That'd be great.
and then we'll
Yep.
follow up from there.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Sims, go ahead.
I think this one's for Barry, but I don't. Down at the Riverfront Park South, there's a ginormous cottonwood, about a 75-foot tree, that the beavers have cut all the way around. That's in danger of falling on the bridge over the North Santiam. So I don't know if did we look at that at all or take any action on that yet?
Come up to the microphone.
Yeah, sorry, Barry, I got to bring you up.
I will say,
I'm a little concerned about
as
this
he's
is
walking,
why.
Counselor Sims did share that, a photo of that with Barry last week, and so it's on his radar.
Yeah, it is definitely on the radar, and I've spoken to Kendall about it, and our parks guys. So we are looking at what we can do. I believe the next process will be that we need to take the tree down under controlled conditions. Otherwise, it is going to be a problem.
Yes, yeah, it's a big tree. It's a very large cottonwood. Okay, all right, thanks. And I had one other question for Jennifer, actually. So the code enforcement, I've put in a couple addresses into code enforcement.
Yes.
And I know you'd said that you'd gotten the information, but is there any sort of feedback once you put in something? Do you send something saying, "Hey, we've cited them, we've talked to the individual"? I just never got any feedback like that.
Did you? I don't remember if you put it in on the form, or
Yeah,
did you send me?
I did
is
them all on
that-
the form.
Okay, so usually I send back an email right away to
Right.
the applicant or to the person, and I forward it to, and I CC Kendra, and then Kendra calls, does her rounds, looks into it, and gets back to the person. That's the usual thing.
Okay,
I
so
mean, I can-
Kendra should get back to
Yes,
me at some
yes.
point on what action was taken.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. I just want to make sure people are getting feedback, because if it bothers me, I'm sure it's going to bother other people that take the time to do the form and
Yes, yeah, I'll make sure that she does do that.
And I'll say, Jennifer, thank you for bringing this up to me. So I actually talked with Jennifer about this earlier today. And one of the things that we've talked about is we're going to refine sort of like that, the code enforcement policy direction, if you will. I'm not saying that probably as thoroughly or as well as I want to. And as part of, and ultimately we'll share that with council too, but with that we want to establish those really clear timeline expectations. As Jennifer said, Kendra does get back to people, but having a clear understanding of that timeline and what level, and what the expectation is on everybody's part. I think that way you guys know and she knows. So we'll follow up more on that, but our understanding is that she should be getting back to people, but it just might not be as timely as you think it should be. So I guess more to come on that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Batty.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to come to you all with a few updates from the North Santiam School Board meeting that I attended this last Thursday. Just a couple of notable things of interest for us maybe is that Lee Loving recently had his contract re-upped, so we'll continue to be working with him as a partner over there, and so that's something to know. But another thing, just I wanted to go ahead and thank outgoing board member Laura Whipper for her 20 years of service there. She, unfortunately, I missed the last meeting. I wasn't able to see her last meeting, but it was kind of a particular sentimental value for me because she was a serving member when I had graduated high school there. But with that, there's a new board member over there. Brock Conley has begun serving in that capacity, and so looking forward to seeing what he does over there. And then, in addition, one item that I just thought was notable, and I'd bring back to you all, just because I feel like it impacts the youth in our community. There was some recent legislation that failed in this last session to ban phones in schools, and it sounds like they're going about some kind of executive policy change to go ahead and sort of do the same thing. So I just thought that was interesting. They're still trying to ban phones in schools. That's pretty much all I had from North Santingham School District, and I just wanted to thank you for the continued partnership with the organization.
Cool, thanks. Counselor Sims, I think you and I spoke about the stop sign. Do you want to talk about that or ask staff about that again?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can discuss that. There, on Marion Street and 3rd, that intersection, there's stop signs on Marion, but not on 3rd. When I go to 505 frequently and hang out there a little bit, but I have seen. I was just there a few days ago and I saw a near miss. I mean, it was just a couple days ago. There is a lot of near misses at that intersection. I really think it should be a 4-way stop, vice stop signs just on Marion Street. That'd be really. I think that would alleviate traffic going too fast through there, and a lot of the near misses are accidents right there.
I will have Barry look into that.
Councillor Sims has actually brought that up with us a couple of days ago, about a week ago, and we started to discuss that in Julia's meeting concerning who takes responsibility for the placement of signs. And we have found that in actual fact at the moment we have to do an alteration of our code for it to be passed from the police department to the public works department so that we can actually go out and actually implant signs. As it stands right now under the Stayton code, the police department is in actual fact responsible for purchasing, installing and maintaining signs across the city. So we're about to change that code, and once that gets done then we'll look seriously at the issue on Marion and 3rd.
Great. Thanks, Barry.
Does that include the discussion that David and I brought up about the speed on Washington in front of the cannery? I never heard back on that, I don't think.
That's still, we need to reach out to the county. I mean, that's really where we're at, so I don't have an update on that.
Okay.
And I think we need to talk more, because I think that there are traffic control things versus no parking things, but we'll look into this and move forward on all of these discussion items.
Yeah.
Don't leave, because I have a question. Obviously, you said this is under the police department, but how do we decide where we put the stop signs?
Go ahead.
If it's on our roads, I'm not talking about the county roads, on our roads, because we've had discussions about in Westtown, there's a safety issue that I don't believe has been rectified. There's also 2nd Avenue by Hugo's, that intersection. I can tell you sometimes I'm not sure, like, am I supposed to stop, or who has a stop sign? And I've seen near misses on that intersection too. I think it just gets a little wonky with parking. And
so I'm actually going to go first because I do have some answers to, because especially since Len is here. So you need a warrant. You can't just put stop signs up willy-nilly. You have to have traffic warrants because it's actually less safe if you have them up when they really shouldn't be. And so in Westtown, we actually did a traffic warrant study, and it did say that a stop sign was warranted.
Okay.
We are planning on putting that up as part of the Westtown Improvement Project.
Awesome.
So that addresses that piece. I think otherwise, and that's where it's like we'll need to look at it and see, maybe there should, I mean, I'm not saying this, but maybe there shouldn't be any stop sign. Maybe it's in the wrong direction. Maybe it needs to be an all-way. And that's kind of, that analysis will inform where and how, and it very well could be, frankly, that we have stop signs in places that we shouldn't have stop signs. And but you can't solve everything at the same time, so you kind of solve them as they come up. Barry, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just going to reinforce what you said, that basically the Westtown investigation comes under a new construction thing, so therefore it does come under Public Works, which is interesting. But then the sign, it actually reverts to the ownership and the responsibility of the police department as it stands right now, which is also crazy. So we're going to look at the total system of how the signage is in actual fact managed and put in across the city. But as Julia said, we need to do studies on, under our rules, we need to have done a study, a traffic study, to implant or remove a sign from any intersection across the city. So if people have a list, if they have things that they want us to specifically look at, I'd be really interested in collecting and formulating that list so that we can actually put that on an investigation plan. I think it also comes to the safe roads thing, and I'm looking at sorry, say again.
Yeah.
Safe routes, yeah, sorry, safe routes, and it's probably a good thing that should be brought up in that investigation work. Okay.
If I could add to that, I think since we've had more, we have more people downtown, we have more people parking downtown than ever before, and so those patterns probably have changed. You know, in the last 5 years at the least. Our downtown has grown significantly, so I think there's an opportunity there to look at several of those intersections that might not have been an issue previously. So, I mean, that the 505 building has been empty for decades, and so now it's a thriving business. So, definitely opportunity there.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into it. There's no question about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else from anybody? Julia, just, I don't want to put RDS on the spot, but at their last meeting, there was discussion about them replacing, in their budget, the boards that need to be replaced on the benches, so.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to put them on hold to it, but they just talked about it, and I think in there, so that's an item you can discuss.
I can speak to that directly, that the RDS have actually taken responsibility for the seat changeouts. Anything that is currently damaged, they have undertaken that they will in actual fact find the boards and make the replacements and do the repair work.
Yep, that's what they talked about in their meeting. So, yeah, I think that's it for me. Anybody else? Last time? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.